This is the soundtrack series. The soundtrack series. The soundtrack series. The soundtrack series. The soundtrack series.
I first met Rusty in the summer of 1990 when I agreed to be in an evening of improvisational I don't remember what, organized by an actress we both knew at a theater on the 5th floor of a derelict building on Theater Row. This was the kind of thing we used to agree to do. I had just started doing stand-up, or my version of it, which included stories and original songs and, inexplicably, finger puppets. Rusty was a composer and occasional actor, but was best known for his performance in comedy clubs and theaters, where, seated at a piano, he parodied popular musicians and musical styles. He mercilessly lampooned the music of Jim Steinman, best known as Meat Loaf's songwriter, and the high, hiccuping singing voice of Cat Stevens, whose father and son he sang without most of the consonants. He sang a tender and funny lament of the obsolescence of the LP, the long-playing record album, regretting most perhaps the loss of the double record's excellent pot-sifting properties. He had an excellent bit about popular musical licks, a term musicians used to describe a catchy chord arrangement, in which he basically proved that Papa Don't Preach, Kiss on Your List, She's So Fine, Steal Away, Hungry Heart, and the entire Doobie Brothers canon are all the same song. What was so brilliant about the way Rusty made fun of these and other hit songs was that he got you to laugh at them without making you feel bad for maybe once having liked them, because it is not uncommon for songs to be stupid and good at the same time. When people go to comedy shows, they want to nod their heads in recognition almost as much as they want to laugh, or maybe more. The first time Rusty and I shared the stage at a comedy gig, he sang Van Morrison's hit Brown-Eyed Girl as a sort of encore. He made me stand next to him at the piano and sing along. And the whole time I was thinking, what's so funny? Granted, Rusty had a particular gift for singing covers, but he would use them for his own purposes. He'd often make faces at odd lyrics or ham up pretentious chord arrangements or key changes. Or he would squeeze in extra words commenting on his mood or something in the audience or current events. But Brown-Eyed Girl got special treatment because nothing Rusty did to it changed the fact that it is a great song. A jolly, contagious song with a chorus so good that if you don't smile while you are singing it, someone should notify your next of kin that you're dead. Hey, where did we go? Days when the rains came. What an opener. I don't know about you, but I'd like to remember a time when there was a we and we had a place to go, if you know what I mean, when it rained. Well, it turns out that we went down to the hollow and slipped and slid in the morning mist. We took a transistor radio down to the old mine. We did all sorts of excellent things. Van Morrison describes a youthful love so bright and shining, so carefree. Who wouldn't want to remember that or something like it? Now, of course, some of us won't remember it because it never happened. But we love to hear those lyrics anyway. For a moment, we can pretend that it happened. We can imagine what it was like making love in the green grass behind the stadium. Sort of, if we hadn't been virgins at the time. Great songs elevate our own pedestrian yearnings to not only a place where they rhyme, but to a place where it is filled with other yearners singing along, making us feel less pedestrian. For Rusty's audience, singing sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-di-da was the magical incantation of the romantic ideal that we conjure in adolescence and which informs in some way or another every romantic encounter of our lives. Rusty sang as though the song had happened to him, and the reason we sang along was because it could have happened to all of us. It should have happened to all of us. Maybe it still would. Why did Rusty do it? If you think about it, for him to transition from comedy about music to music for its own sake during a comedy show, without the whole enterprise turning to cheese, was nothing less than astonishing, really ballsy. Maybe he just thought, hey, I've got the stage, I'm going to sing whatever I like. But maybe it was this. Rusty knew that laughing in the dark with 200 total strangers feels great, but singing with them, that feels fantastic. And when Rusty actually invited you, yes, you, out there in the audience to join in, it was as though the funniest, most popular kid in school had linked his elbow with yours, like Mickey Rooney in Babes in Arms, and marched you through the corridor, singing at the top of his lungs, proclaiming his allegiance. It was like you were pals with the guy who had dated the brown-eyed girl. Over the years, it became standard for Rusty to end his comedy set with Brown-Eyed Girl. The audience expected it, craved it, and it sort of turned him into a rock star. Rusty became sick in the fall of 2000. He'd been suffering from colitis since he was a teenager, and although Rusty and I had been performing at the same gigs for more than 10 years, colitis isn't among the funnier ailments, and he hadn't ever mentioned it. I went to visit him in the hospital, and the first thing he said to me was, "Shit, isn't this insane? I have cancer. Shit. Can you believe it? Cancer." During Rusty's first round of chemo in the winter of 2001, a song called Drops of Jupiter was getting the kind of new song radio play that happens once in a while, particularly with mid-tempo rock ballads. I've always thought that the rock ballad was a particularly potent musical form. Rock music has the rhythm of a heart beating just a little bit too fast. Pump it up and it's all adrenaline rush. Slow it down and it's pure emotion. Play something in between and you can dance and cry at the same time. It doesn't even matter that most rock ballads are about lost love only a little more than they are about dogs. Also, there's nothing like fantasizing about hard, heavy rock stars, even if they're freaks. I mean, who wouldn't fuck Kiss drummer Peter Criss, cat whiskers and all, after hearing him sing Beth? Drops of Jupiter by a band called Train is ostensibly, and I say ostensibly because some of it is so incomprehensible I couldn't really tell you what it's about. It's a sort of post-mortem inquiry into the nature of the afterlife. Its lyrics imagine what it must have been like to be, how to put this, out there in the heavens, floating around, discovering new worlds, missing old ones. Drops of Jupiter is both driving and a little drecky, a combination that is one of the hallmarks of a successful rock ballad. And true to form, it's chock-a-block with hackneyed cliches and baffling metaphors. My favorite is, she listens like spring, and she talks like June. Oh, wait, no, this is my favorite. Told a story about a man who was too afraid to fly, so he never did land. Although who am I to sneer, since one, the CD went double platinum, and two, I myself have an utterly inexplicable attachment to the song, Total Eclipse of the Heart. These are just the kind of lyrics that would never have survived a once-over by Rusty. He would have stopped short after singing this stunner. She checks out Mozart while she does Tai Bo, and asked, "What the fuck?" And then sang on with the same pained, incredulous face he had always made when he sang the Jim Steinman lyric, perhaps his stupidest ever. Objects in the rearview mirror may appear closer than they are. Actually, that's stupid and dangerous because the opposite is true. Objects in the rearview mirror are closer than they appear. And I'm wondering how many Meatloaf fans failed their driving tests. Rusty played Drops of Jupiter for me 3 times in a row one day, without irony, picking out particular lyrics, singing along, manically pacing his living room, sitting down at his keyboard and getting up again. For someone on chemo, he had a lot of energy. He played it for everyone. He talked about it. He obsessed over it. So how do you go from being a brown-eyed girl kind of guy to a Drops of Jupiter kind of guy? You get cancer. You get cancer and you see your life, which was perfectly represented by Van Morrison, suddenly turn into something that is better represented by Train. So what if Rusty didn't parse the lyrics too carefully? He just let himself be swept away by the alchemy from which hit songs are somehow born of inane writing, a catchy melody, a driving beat, and perhaps more important, coincidence. In the opening stanza, there's a totally nonsensical line about acting like summer and walking like rain, but it ends with a suggestion that it is not too late to change. That first part about the summer and the rain, yikes. But the second half, well, everyone wants to change. Everyone wants to know there is still time to do it, especially someone for whom time has suddenly become an issue. Here's how the chorus ends. And did you miss me while you were looking for yourself out there? Clunky, yes, but it boils down to this. Someone went away and someone was left behind. It only takes 1 or 2 lyric lines, 1 or 2 lyric lines that seem to be about you. As Rusty got sicker, friends from every stage of his life, from every school he'd ever attended, every show for which he'd composed music, every comedy club in which he performed, began showing up in his hospital room, at his apartment, visiting him, taking him on errands. Colleagues and co-writers and ex-girlfriends, some with brown eyes, some with blue, flew in to see him perform and to pay tribute to him. It was nothing less than a pilgrimage. What was it about Rusty? One of his best friends called it the disarming spectacle of sheer joy. Another said, Rusty isn't really a grown man's name. And it occurred to me that perhaps Rusty played Brown-Eyed Girl because it was a reflection of the way he saw his life, a mostly elegant, occasionally messy confluence of nostalgia and hope. Nostalgia and hope. They are the admixture of great songwriting, and they are also in many ways the cornerstones of our emotional lives. Here's where we were. Here's where we're maybe going, if we're lucky. The brown-eyed girl in the Van Morrison song wasn't a her. She wasn't a memory. Or rather, she wasn't just a memory. She was a you, which implied that maybe she was standing right there in front of Van Morrison, and maybe he was talking to her, and who knows where things would go from there. But Rusty was probably not going to be running into any more metaphorical brown-eyed girls. He needed a new paradigm, and Drops of Jupiter comforted him with its implication of a celestial afterlife, especially one in which it might be possible to come to terms with his loss, and then perhaps return as some benevolent antimatter to witness his family's recovery through a hole in the troposphere. Nostalgia and hope. Even Train got it right. As with all things musical, Rusty knew what he was doing. I don't know how to tie this up neatly, or I'm afraid I'll tie it up too neatly. Let me force an end by saying that once I knew this fantastic, talented guy who loved comedy and music, shared them with everyone he knew and a lot of people he didn't, and then lost his life. Go spend $17.95 or whatever to buy any Van Morrison CD with Brown-Eyed Girl on it. It's something you should own. And one day, after you've blown half an hour peeling the cellophane off the CD case, play the thing. It's all there. Then buy Drops of Jupiter from iTunes for 99 cents and listen to that too. And imagine Rusty, or someone you once knew. Then go back to Brown-Eyed Girl and sing sha-la-la-la-la-la, la-la-la-la-dee-da. Because Rusty would have wanted you to. And because it will make you feel really, really good. Thank you.
The Soundtrack Series, the fourth Thursday of every month in the Gallery at Le Poisson Rouge, New York.